Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan. That's Izzy Gutierrez in Parts Unknown. I always like Parts Unknown. It's like, where is he? He could be anywhere. He could be right next to you. That's right. If you just look to your left, there's Izzy.
Hey.
Great episode today. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Are we having PK Subban on? Is that what's going on today? No?
Oh,
I figured he would want a chance to fire back at you.
To fire back what? Whatever. I'll tell you who had a chance to fire back. Those Los Angeles Lakers. They circled their schedule and said, we're going to play Denver on Saturday, February 22nd. And when we do, we're going to show them that we're not punks anymore. And that's exactly what they did. This is what JJ Redick had as a request for Luka Dončić before that game. Take a listen.
I told him this morning that I want at least one blackout episode where he's screaming indiscriminately at no one in particular because he's excited. Like that means he's back. That's the Luka I know, the killer.
What kind of coaching is that? I mean, I'm just curious.
Dude, I mean, like, look, we're going to get to JJ Redick in a second. I want to point out that Luka Dončić, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, and the Lakers finally beat the Nuggets. It's only their second win in the last 15 tries. Coach Redick was amped afterwards. This was the locker room speech. Take a listen.
I was so amped today. I should have been able to take a nap. I couldn't sleep last night. I was up till 5 a.m. I couldn't even nap today. I hope that was fun. If we play that hard for the rest of the regular season, we're going to be just fine. That should build your belief. It built my belief in what we can accomplish.
Izzy, were you able to take a nap after listening to that speech?
That drives me absolutely insane. I mean, because the idea that a nap is something that is like really difficult to, like, come on now. Like when he went off about not being able to sleep for 2 days, I'm like, well, first of all, we all have sleepless nights, right? Every coach has sleepless nights. It's not the biggest thing in the world. I don't feel sorry for him. And I definitely don't feel sorry for him because I couldn't nap yesterday. And the speech about, I want to be, Luka should be a killer, everything else. That's the Luka I know. I don't know, man. That just to me all sounds like stuff that he thinks coaches are supposed to say, but it doesn't really follow with the JJ Redick that I've kind of gotten to know, not personally, but over time. It's just, it feels like he's doing coaching stuff just to do coaching stuff. And I don't know if it's a good thing or not. I don't know if it's a bad thing. It's a little bit off-putting to me. I just don't feel like it's genuine.
Very Joe Mazzulla school of coaching, right? Like all of this, I'm going to be a weirdo and everyone's going to respond to that. But I do want to point out something because Luka Dončić after the game said that he feels like they're a championship contending team now. And I think when you combine that sentiment from Luka with JJ Redick and kind of the importance they put on this game, I think this is the fool's gold that players and teams and coaches find and latch onto. Like, we had a great game against a team that's given us problems historically. Our problems are solved. Championship, here we come. And I'm looking at it as, yeah, I mean, you beat the Nuggets. You had a good game on a Saturday matinee ABC game, but does that really mean anything? I don't know. Are they title contenders? Can they even be title contenders this year, Izzy?
I think you can convince yourself of that. And look, Dallas last year, did I think they were title contenders? Made it to the finals. Probably the year before that, didn't think they were title contenders. Made it obviously to the conference finals there. And if you look at Luka just specifically against the Nuggets the last 2 years, his numbers have been great. I mean, they're Luka numbers, right? Just, 2 years ago, averaged 36, 10, and 6. Well, last year rather, 36, 10, and 6 with a 62 true shooting percentage against them. The year before that, it was 29, 9, and 10. If you tell me that I'm going to get those numbers from a LeBron sidekick against the Nuggets team, I'm going to trust it. They can beat that team. I think what the Lakers are going to do, Amin, is very much LeBron. They're going to try to manipulate the standings, try to fall in a place where they don't have to face OKC in the second round, perhaps, and maybe would face a team like the Nuggets, maybe a team like the Grizzlies. And you're going to tell me if they have a path like that they can't make it to the finals? I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah, I guess you're going to be disagreeing with me. First of all, Dallas did deals at the deadline to make themselves a more whole and complete team. The Lakers did deals at the deadline that got them their future, but not made them decidedly less complete than they were before. Again, obviously they did the right thing trading for Luka Dončić. I'm just saying for this season, this team has a lot of holes. And to me, if you look at the standings right now, I doubt the Lakers are going to catch Denver for 3. I doubt they're going to drop below 5. So they're basically locked around into that 4-5. They're going to play either Houston or the Clippers in the first round. I think they'll win that series, either or. And then they'll get to the second round. And then who do they play? The number 1 seed. Oh, that's right. The Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think they get absolutely annihilated, right? Because
I'm going to pause you right there because a very respected basketball voice, Brian Windhorst, said, and this is not saying that the Lakers won't get annihilated. He said, nobody is scared of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I understand Oklahoma City is not great, right? Their weakness is big men, right? And the Lakers don't have very high quality big man depth. But in a playoff series, if you think that like a Rui Hachimura or Dorian Finney-Smith, somebody like that can sort of play big and make up for that, and you have the Luka-LeBron combo, you don't think that you can devise a scheme to maybe, have Shea struggle some, as the centerpiece of an offense every single game for a playoff series? Like, I think the Lakers would convince themselves they have a chance against the Thunder team.
We could do a whole Laker episode where I would just start with who's going to guard Shea, who's going to guard Jalen Williams, because the Lakers don't have those guys. They got Dorian Finney-Smith. I think he's a guy who could do a decent job against them, but you just offered them up to the big man gods.
Right.
So here's our sacrifice, Rui Hachimura and Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, okay, so they're there. So who's here? Unless you're taking them here and putting them here on the wings, so then who's over there in the bigs? The Lakers just don't have any answers to any of the things Oklahoma City does. Brian can say no one's scared, and guess what? Brian is tapped in. And maybe 14 out of the teams in the Western Conference are like, we're not scared of the Thunder. Okay, so then you're going to be not terrified as you get bludgeoned, right? There's a movie called Novocaine that's coming out where the dude doesn't feel pain. It doesn't mean you're not getting your ass kicked. Oh, it doesn't hurt. Yeah, well, at one point your face is just bashed in and it's just a bloody pulp. But I'm glad it didn't hurt. You weren't afraid during.
Okay, so maybe the Thunder, I might need some more work on that argument. But did at least the Lakers solve the Nuggets problem for the Lakers? Because you remember Darvin Ham saying, being asked, how do you stop Nikola Jokic? And he just basically said, I have no idea. And this was JJ Redick's sort of celebratory, hey, this is why I'm here and Darvin's not, because I can do this. They forced 20 turnovers. They basically fronted and had help behind Jokic anytime they tried to get it into the post. And he finished 2 for 7 from the floor. That's the least shots he's had, against in a loss ever? And
in the last 2 seasons,
in the last 2 seasons, excuse me. And so, it doesn't feel like it's something that you can just maintain game after game after game if it's a 7-game series, but at least it's something. It gave you something against this group, and it makes you feel like, I told you those Luka numbers earlier against Denver. You're getting that against Denver. I'm pretty sure you're going to win a series against this group.
Well, first of all, let's be clear here. Luka's done well against the Nuggets. The Mavericks didn't. Right. The Nuggets were a team that would beat them consistently as well. Maybe not as lopsided as the Lakers, but it still wasn't something to go home feeling happy about. When it comes to, did they shut down Jokic? They did on Saturday. And that's maybe, in one way, maybe JJ Redick messed up by showing his hand too soon, because now the Nuggets know, okay, that's how they're going to want to play us. And to me, that's the story of the playoffs. It's not, hey, could I shut them down one game? It's to be able to do it 4 times out of 7. And so what happens is we get adjustments. And if you look at the way they guarded Jokic, maybe it worked. Maybe he had a bad day. Maybe he just wasn't in it, right? But when we get to the playoffs, there are going to be adjustments that he makes because he's a smart player, and there are going to be adjustments that Michael Malone will make because he's a great head coach at that. I look at JJ Redick, and again, 5 years from now, he might be the best coach in the NBA. But right now, he's still a neophyte. He is still someone who's learning the ropes, all right? And making adjustments in a playoff series is not something that you walk in and I'm awesome at. You got to work at it. So you say, okay, well, who's on his staff? Well, the 2 guys on his staff are Scotty Brooks and Nate McMillan, 2 guys with a lot of head coaching experience, a lot of playoff experience, guys who played in this league. But I would argue both of those guys were known for not making adjustments, right? Scotty Brooks, 2012 NBA Finals, they play.
Perk.
Eric Spoelstra moves Chris Bosh to the 5, Shane Battier to the 4. and dares Perk to kind of basically guard Chris Bosh out beyond the 3-point line. They don't. Checkmate. There was never an adjustment. And it wasn't because he didn't realize it. He was like, no. If we just do what we do, we're going to win. It doesn't matter. And like, that's not how this thing works. The other example, and I'll let you respond, Nate McMillan. I have firsthand experience of this one. 2010, first round in the NBA playoffs. We're playing Portland. Portland had given us problems that year. Portland is up 2-1 in the series. We make the adjustment of saying, hey, Grant Hill, you guard Andre Miller instead of Steve Nash. Steve Nash, you guard Nick Batum, because Nate McMillan will never adjust. He'll never put Batum in the post. He'll never try to take advantage of that. You're just going to be standing in the corner. And guess what? Checkmate. We rattled off the next 3 wins in a row, and we won that series. These are his major advisors, guys who don't make adjustments. Okay. And JJ Redick is not an adjustment guy, or at least we don't know what he is in his first go-round in the playoffs.
2 quick things, though. Like, he had this game with a roster that, he's only had for since the trade deadline, and still managed to pull this off with those assistants. I got to give him credit for that. But what if these Nuggets just aren't the Nuggets that we think they are? Because, Nikola Jokic implied it. He said basically that their 9-game winning streak wasn't legit. And you want to go over who they actually beat? It was the Hornets, the Blazers, the Suns minus KD and Beal, the struggling Magic team, the Pelicans, the Hornets, and the Sixers. And before that, the losses were to the Wolves, the Bulls, and the Knicks. Knicks is not a terrible loss. But you look at all that and you're just saying, okay, these Nuggets have found a way to beat bad teams. They found a way to keep where they are in the standings. But in a playoff series against a quality team like this, that Laker team potentially, that has had the rest of the season to figure itself out, I would probably favor the Lakers in that situation. Now I'm projecting like things have to go well for the Lakers the rest of the season, and the Nuggets have to not figure it out. But if it started tomorrow, I'm taking the Lakers.
I'm shaking your hand on that one because I'll take Nuggets all day long. But also, I don't think they're going to see the Nuggets. I think they're gonna end up seeing the Thunder in the second round. And
I think LeBron's a king of manipulating the standings, and he might drop that team to the 6th seed just to avoid it.
All right, so we go from Jokic, who maybe things aren't going so great for him, but still pretty well considering his rival Joel Embiid in the Eastern Conference. Things going not so well. The Sixers are now considering shutting down Embiid for the season. That's according to Shams Charania of ESPN. He's been having a lot of problems with the knees. He talked about like, hey, I'm going to need a procedure that's going to take a long rest and rehab. So the Sixers thinking to shut him down. I wonder if that's anything that happened. Oh, that's right. They this weekend also told us that the Sixers are now officially in the bottom 6, which means if things go the way they're supposed to, they're going to keep their pick. Remember, they owe that first round pick to Oklahoma City from the Al Horford salary dump trade in 2020. That pick is top 6 protected. Izzy, first of all, how confident are you that the Sixers are going to get to keep this pick?
I mean, if you're Joel Embiid, aren't you just saying, fine, let me shut this down. Just let me get this season over with. Let me try. Because obviously the Paul George thing didn't work. That is, I mean, his numbers are worse than Tobias Harris's this year. And you just like, if you're Embiid, do you think to yourself, okay, I'll get this knee surgery and then next time I'll come back and we'll, fight the good fight and I'll be back and, the 76ers will be the 76ers that everybody wants them to be? No, like, I don't think there's no positivity, I don't think anywhere around, right? And how they didn't see this coming earlier, I don't know. Like, I know they couldn't exactly get off of Paul George around the trade deadline because he's not very attractive, but maybe shut him down a little earlier, maybe assure yourself like more than just like only 1 or 2 teams might have to jump you in that lottery for you to get out of that top 6. Like, you got to really embed yourself into that bottom group and just, try to get that pick, because I don't know where the hope is with this group. And it's kind of sad to see this. It's just another damaging ending to a season for Joel Embiid.
So this is the fun part, right? So you got into the top 6. Congratulations. Part of that is because Brooklyn all of a sudden decided to start winning. And I guess that's their prerogative. But now it gets harder because first of all, you're 2.5 back of Toronto, who's the next worst team at 18-39. You might be able to catch them. But then Charlotte, Utah, New Orleans, and the Washington Wizards. Boy, that's some tough company. And you're saying, I mean, why does it matter? Why do they need to get even deeper? Well, here's the thing. If you are a bottom 4 team, you have basically a 50-50 chance of that pick staying among the top 4, right? As you go down, the odds decrease. And so even though they have one of the 6 worst records, there's no guarantee that they're going to be the 6th worst pick or the 6th best pick in the draft. The other part of this, Izzy, that I think is really interesting, as you ask, how did the Sixers not see this coming? I mean, we said that in the offseason when they went out and got Paul George, right? I don't think Paul George is tradable at this point. He's played poorly when he's healthy, and he's missed a lot of games not being healthy. But how tradable, hypothetically, how tradable is Joel Embiid? He's got 4 years left. He's got $250 million almost remaining on his contract. He's knocking on 30. Izzy, do you think there's a market for Joel Embiid if the Sixers were to float it?
I still think there's a market. I think, you'd have to know medical, whatever results from this knee situation. It is interesting. Like, I was thinking about this when I heard the news, and, one of those, are your eyes lying to you, or is your memory lying to you? I said to myself, is Joel Embiid potentially the only MVP who won't make the Hall of Fame? And then you go back and look at the numbers and like, oh no, he definitely checks all the boxes. He could retire tomorrow and make the Hall of Fame. But what if we went by those 65 game minimums that we have now, right? He would only have 2 of those eligible seasons for All NBA. Like, if we would have done that back then, I don't think you'd be talking about Joel Embiid this same way. And I think when you say that, another knee surgery, is he tradable? I mean, look at those seasons and, tell other organizations, hey, do you think you can keep him healthy, or do you think you can play the game of just keeping those, whatever 60 games he plays later in the season and into the playoffs? And that's just too much to navigate. And the Sixers have been doing it for so long, and they've been screwing it up, but it's also very difficult to navigate. So I don't know if another organization is going to want that for that price.
Yeah, I think ultimately, first of all, you're right. If the 65 game rule had applied, he goes from 5-time All NBA, which is almost Hall of Fame lock, 2-time All NBA, and that's decidedly that. It takes him from where he is reputationally to Derrick Rose, who's the other MVP who won't be a Hall of Famer, at least not for his play. It'll be for contributions to the game or whatever. And again, that's one of those things. When you talk about acquiring this guy, it reminds me of the Zion Williamson. Remember, there was talk earlier this year, like, oh, what if the Pelicans would turn around and try to trade Zion? And as you're thinking about, what do I give up for something like that? Because it's not, no one doubts the basketball part of it, right? That's the thing about Zion and Joel Embiid. It's like, when they play, they're awesome. Ain't nobody here like doubting their ability. It's how often are you able to play? And I'm not saying this as a like, oh, they choose not to play. I mean, these guys their bodies are not right. And at some point you have to question that commitment to that type of salary. It's not just the money that you're paying, it's the money against the cap that prevents you from doing other stuff to improve your team.
I mean, if they end up keeping in that top 6, do you think that they then start to look to move Embiid and say, hey, we're scrapping the whole thing and we're starting over?
I mean, it depends on who they get. You tell me they got a Cooper Flag.
Ace Bailey.
Reset. Boo, and we start all over again. All right, speaking of starting all over again, let's start all over again after the break. We'll do Hot Streak, and we'll give you the best games of the week coming up. Little preview action.
Welcome back to Oddball. Amin, I don't know if you saw Alex Rodriguez hit a half-court shot for some, I think a college student to win $10,000. Wasn't even the most interesting Timberwolves news of the weekend, because they are reportedly expected to offer Kevin Garnett a role in their front office when A-Rod and Mark Lord take over. KG had this quote back in 2020 about the previous owner, Glenn Taylor, said he'd never have any dealings with him. He loved his Timberwolves, but I don't do business with snakes. So now that he will be in that front office, I think it's pretty darn cool. I think it really legitimizes the front office, even just in terms of names, right? Like if you have a KG there, it's very attractive to other teams. Maybe I want to go play for that guy. I'm not sure what he does particularly well in terms of player development, but maybe you could shed some light on what that role could be like and how he could be good at it.
Yeah, player development typically refers to kind of like the individual work that guys do after practice, before games, in order to get better at playing basketball, get smarter at playing basketball. And so to me, that's like the ideal role for a Kevin Garnett. It's something that's very hands-on. He gets to show younger guys the tricks of the trade. When you're guarding a guy, these are the tells. This is how you want to bait your opponent, things like that. being part of the front office in player development kind of usually means like a management role, meaning that you are probably handpicking who are the guys, the actual guys on the court who are working with the players. I'm going to assume that KG is going to want to be hands-on in that regard and be doing that. But I think this is great. It's the closest thing to playing you can get without actually playing.
The interesting part to me is if he's in Anthony Edwards' ear, and the idea is to keep Anthony Edwards there for his whole career.
Yeah.
How do you have any sort of say in that? What kind of leverage do you have? Because you left, you won a championship elsewhere, and then I believe said you regretted not leaving earlier.
Well, I mean, first of all, look, it's not like KG is going to get there. He's got this role with the organization. He's back in. It's like, hey, kid, get out of here. Run. You don't want to be part of this, right? So he's not going to do that. Number two is the reason why he left, the reason why things weren't great was because of the prior ownership group. So if I'm KG, that's my selling point to Anthony Edwards. No. These guys know what they're doing. Hey, you got a great general manager. Hey, you've got great ownership. This is exactly this is what I had in Boston. What I had in Boston was great management, great ownership, great coaching. And this is what you now have here, and I'm here. Anytime you have those frustrations, you can come to me. And in many ways, from Anthony Edwards' perspective, like, oh yeah, he's a guy who's been there before in a way that I don't know anyone else in the organization can really empathize with him, right? If you think about it, who's the next biggest star in the T-Wolves organization outside Anthony Edwards? It's on. You see, you're going to draw blank. Naz Reid, exactly. Rudy Gobert, right? Like KG walks in and is like, you understand what it's like. You get the pressures. You get all of the stuff that falls on Anthony Edwards' shoulders. This is someone who truly understands in a way that maybe none of the other guys, no disrespect to them. Obviously, Tim Connelly's a great general manager, great front office guy, but he's never been a quote unquote face of the NBA. A-Rod, baseball, but there's not a lot of things that translate over, I don't think.
The only other responsibility I would make sure he gets is pregame speeches for big games or playoff series, because I need KG in that locker room.
There you go. All right, time to play Hot Streak. Hot Streak, it's the game. It's presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the Hot Streak game, as we always know, we pick a game, and then we pick the line, and then we try to keep the streak going, pick another game. Last week, we picked Clippers +2 versus the Bucks. They lost by 6 in their first game back from the All-Star break. Giannis came back. Who knew he was going to come back? Damn it, Giannis. All right, so let's be real. There's only one game we have our eyes on this week. It's Mavs at Lakers. Lakers are 7.5-point favorites. And Tuesday night, it's Luka's first game against Dallas. Now, back when we first picked this game, remember when they set the line, Lakers were 5-point favorites. I leaned towards Mavericks, but Izzy, you said something very prescient. What was the thing that you said at the time?
It was, do we know who's going to be available for this game? Because they set those lines right after the trade was made. And, who's not available? This will not be an Anthony Davis revenge game because he's just going to be sitting on the sideline right now. The line is Mavs +7.5, right? That's the number?
Uh-huh. Yep.
I'm definitely leaning Lakers here. This does not become anything about the Mavs. This is entirely a Luka celebration. This is how many blackout moments are we talking? There's probably going to be plenty, but it's not going to be at nobody. He's not going to be yelling at nobody in particular. We all know exactly who he'll be yelling at every time he hits one of those big shots.
Patrick Dumont.
Nah,
that's what he should be yelling at. All right, game of the week. Before we go, we're going to break out our new segment for Mondays. We're going to call Game of the Week. So original, so groundbreaking.
Classic.
Izzy and I are both going to end our Mondays by shouting out one game we're looking forward to this week. Izzy, which game are you going to pick?
I got the Bucks and Rockets. I feel like the Rockets needed that All-Star break. They were kind of settling in a little bit, probably losing. They lost to the Jazz, I believe. Not really playing their best. The Bucks are playing really well right now. Just beat Miami in a little bit of a come from behind win the other night. I think that for both of those teams, it's a kind of like sort of put your feet in the ground and say, hey, this is where I am right now. And it'll be a good win for either one.
I'm just surprised you didn't pick a Pistons game. Oh, there's a Thompson twin somewhere. Any pick that Izzy has, there's going to be a Thompson twin hovering around.
Maybe.
I'm going Suns at Grizzlies. The Suns.
Oh, the Suns.
Woof. The Suns have had a tough go of it, but they got back on track against Chicago the other night. I think this is a big one for them in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies, 2 seed. Maybe Denver's breathing down their neck, so this game has some meaning to them as well.
We're going to have to fight over the next Suns-Rockets game.
Yeah.
To see who gets that one.
Winner gets KD?